Hey everyone, this is alexusadays, and we're continuing REST API testing with Postman. And today we're going to have Postman introduction and installation. So we're in module 7, getting closer to actual hands-on testing. All right, so what is Postman? Postman is a versatile API platform used for building, testing, and automating API workflows, enabling collaboration between developers and testers. Using Postman, you can build APIs. So Postman provides tools to create APIs, generate documentation, and collaborate with team members on API development. With Postman, you can test APIs. Postman is excellent for sending requests to API endpoints, verifying responses, and automating the testing process using collections and environments. Debugging, it helps in visualizing and tracking API responses, headers, and status codes, which makes debugging easier. Postman is great for automation. Postman collections can be run in sequence with specific environments, making automated testing workflow possible even for CI/CD pipelines. So you can download Postman with this link. So postman.com downloads, and that's where we're going to go now, and we'll get the installation going, and we'll get some introduction going. Okay, so here we are. This is postman.com /downloads. And let's install. You should have the installation according to your system popping up. So I'm on Windows. This is my installation. You should have yours if you're on Mac. Okay, so download started right here. It's in progress. Okay, so you can right-click it and run it as admin to install it. You'll have a pop-up asking if you want this program to make changes to your system. Click OK. And here we are. So it opened instantly. Now I had an account previously. Now let me sign out and show you what you will see if you're not signed in. So you can type Postman in search bar for it to come up, and you can open it up. Okay, so I do recommend creating an account. If you're not going to create an account, you will be using lightweight API client, which is okay for trying things out, but it's very limited. And you want to sign up to have collections available, a lot of other features, like lightweight API client will allow you only to send requests pretty much, right? There's not a lot of configuration that you can do here. Now, if you don't have an account, go ahead and create an account. Click this button or sign in if you already have one. So once you hit create an account, it loads in the browser with this Postman window waiting for it. You can create a sign up using just your Google. So sign up with Google. All right, so signing in using my Google account, signing up. And we're done. Okay, so let's open our Postman. This is app that is opening on your machine. So I'm gonna add, what's your name? So alexusadays. It's asking to set up a profile. What is your role? Let's see. So quality engineer tester, continue. And here we are. So we are on the welcome screen getting started. If you don't see it, just click home and it should take you here. All right, so you can see there's your profile. You can manage accounts. Now you can see workspaces are available. By default, there's my workspace. This is where we're going to work, but you can create more if you have multiple workspaces. And at home page, so back at home, let's click on the REST API basics. So Postman has introduction available, so you can go through it, read about it. Let's click on REST API basics here. All right. So once you click it, you can see here now I'm in collections, right, on the left, in my workspace, in collections, and now there's a new collection added. You can expand it, and then this collection is full of different requests. You can also see overview for this collection, and it tells you about CRUD. go ahead and read this, like spend some time getting used to reading documentation and understanding it. But CRUD is essentially means create, read, update, delete. So this is an approach to managing test data. You want to have test data that doesn't clutter your environment, your system. So you want to create test data, then read from it. You can then update it and then delete it, so your test environment stays stable. Now, with this collection being added and created, we have a bunch of requests here, right? Let's expand it. The first one is get request. And here is get method, and here is the URL where this get method will be sent. And base URL is actually a variable. Like I can set a variable here and give it values if I press on that, but I don't really need to do it because it's already set. You can see it's highlighted here, and if you go into the collection itself, just click on it, and you see there's overview, authorization, scripts, variables. So those variables are coming from the collection itself, and they're set here. So there's a base URL variable, initial value, and then current value. So this is set in your URL in the request. This is where it's pulling this variable from. Now, when you do the full request, it will do the variable that is contained within, and this info question mark ID equals 1. ID equals 1 is a parameter. It comes after the question mark here. And you can see parameter is set in the request itself in the params. Like there's a key ID and there's a value 1. I can update it to, let's say, 2. Now it's number 2. And update it back to 1. So you see how parameter is changing. Authorization. Now, this tab is inherited from parent, and the parent now is actually this collection itself. And if I'll go here in authorization, it says no auth. So there's no authorization for this API. We're just kind of getting familiar with Postman. There's no need to have it. Okay, then we have headers. We don't see any headers. They're not being sent by us specifically, but there's some hidden headers. If I expand them, you'll see there's cache control, Postman token, user agent, all of that stuff, connection keep alive. Those headers are auto-added by Postman to make sure that your request goes well. You can just hide them. If you need any specific headers that your API requires, you can add them yourself here. So again, key value pairs, right? Then there's body. There's body is set to none because it's a GET request, so there's really no body to send. We're just doing a request to this particular link to ID1. And there is a script. So within the script, there is pre-request script. So this is being executed before the request is sent. And then there's a post request, post response. This is being executed after the script, after the request response comes back. And here in the script, we have PM test, so it starts a test. Within parentheses, we have the name of the test case. So status code is 200. Then we have a function that executes it. And within the function, we're saying Postman is looking into the response, and it wants the response to have status code 200, right? So this is parentheses, and those are, two of those are curly braces. So within the curly braces, two curly braces, you set a variable, and that variable is being pulled from the variables here in the collection, on the collection level. Now, within parentheses, we have a function here running, okay? So the test itself is running in Postman, and the Postman will verify once I send a request that response in fact does contain code 200. Let's send it. Okay, so request went to the URL that we provided, and the URL responded that we made a request. So this response here, this is response body, and it's formatted in JSON. We typically will be working with JSON where we test API. And you see that it's opening curly braces and closing, and within we have again key and value pair, right? and request is 200. You can save the response. You know, if it's a valid response, now look, it's being saved here. Then you can have it here as a comparison. So to make sure if something gets updated, this stays like a place where you can come back to it and compare against the response, the new response that you received, that everything looking good, right? Now, also a very good tool is console here at the bottom. If you click on the console will show you the request that you've sent, and it tells you the link where it went to without the actual variable, right? The whole link. It has network data here. It has request headers, has response headers, and it has response body. Same thing that we see here. It's a very good tool for debugging. If you will see, some issues, requests not coming through, you can look inside here and understand what's going on, why, what kind of errors came to be. And here is status code, how fast the response was. You can get like error logs and so on and so on. Okay, so this was a GET request. Now, within the collection itself, you can have multiple folders. I can add a folder, and within folder, I can add new requests. But this example collection doesn't have additional folders, which you will typically see just has some of the requests that are running. Okay, after we get the data, we know this link is working, we can send a post data request. So no parameters here, goes just to the info endpoint. Authorization inherited from the parent, again coming from the collection itself. Headers, default headers provided by Postman. Body. Now we are sending, because it's a post request, we need to send some body. And here is a name, it's a key and value, whatever we want to provide. So let's say I'm going to say Alex. That's going to be the body I'm sending. So key name, the value is Alex. And from one curly brace to another, that's the JSON request, the body I'm sending, or payload, so-called, right? Then there's a script, and script is looking for one of the two status codes. This script is a little bit different, so it could be 200 or 201. Either one will work, right? No settings are set. We don't really use that much right now, but yeah, so just the script, essentially, that's where your tests are. Again, successful post request is the name, and then there's a function that is running this test script that is expecting a response, and it gets response body and then finds code, and it wants the code to be 200 or 201, the status code. So let's send it out, and here we got a response, right? There's a message saying that you made a post request and that you set name to Alex. Perfect. Again, this is in a post response script. We're not sending any prerequisite script. That's great. Now let's go ahead and update it. We're going to go and update the ID1 user, right? And we're going to say the name now should be something else. So we can send in the whole body here. So instead of Alex, put is actually doing an update, right? So I'll say Alex USA days and send again. And now the name was updated to Alex USA days, and we got status code 200. The script is checking. Status code is 200, 201, or 204. Good. And let's go to the last one, which is delete. Now we can delete data. Again, we're sending to the same ID1. We're trying to delete that record. Send it. And we have 200 OK and a message that you made a delete request to delete ID1. Perfect. Now you might have noticed that status codes are a bit off. Typically for delete, you will see 204. For post, you will see 201, right? But that's okay because we're just getting familiar. Once you start working more with API documentation and understanding a little bit better API status codes, you'll start noticing things like that if they're off, and you can always bring them up with like developers, your QA manager, other QA team members. Okay, great. Now that is a very quick introduction into this collection that was created. Again, go ahead and read the whole thing here. it's a very good habit to start reading into documentation and understanding it a little bit. There is one thing that we're going to discuss further in more details, and it's called environments, right? And then you can have global environment and you can set global variables, but you can have also specific environments. Like you can add an environment, and let's say it's going to be called test, and you can set a bunch of variables specifically for test environment, and then you execute your collection, you will be executing a test environment. So sometimes you'll have variables coming from the collection level from here. Sometimes you'll have variables that are coming from your test environment or some other environment, maybe dev or production, wherever you're testing. So those variables are easy to set, right? And you can switch easily between different environments using new variables, new logins, new passwords, and so on, right? It's very convenient. Okay, now let's create our first collection. So just hit plus, and let's say blank collection, and let's name it first collection. First collection. And within the first collection, let's create a folder, and we will call it add a folder first request. Okay. All right, great. Might want to stay consistent, like if you use no spaces and start with capital letters for each word, let's keep it added. And let's add a request. We're going to have get request. New request, and let's call it who am I? All right, great. So remember when we were looking at the status codes for developer.mozilla.org, if we go into the network and refresh this page, okay, there's a lot of stuff here. Instead of all, hit fetch XHR, make sure it's selected. And here we see a who am I request, like this whole thing here. What I can do, I can right click it and say copy, and then say copy curl, let's say as CMD. Now we go back to Postman. Where's our Postman? And here we can say import. And you can paste curl here, for example, right? And I can just go ahead and paste it. Now this whole curl was copied, and I can say import into collection. Must be specified via options. Okay, something's off. Hold on, let's go back. Let's copy as curl. Let's say copy as curl bash. Or this specific one. Let's go back to Postman. I'm going to delete this. Who am I, right? So I deleted this request because we're copying one. And let's do import. Paste. Okay. The curl is here. All of the headers. It provides everything. Import into collection. Okay, so it imported into the rest one as the last one. Let's drag it into our first collection, first request. So what is it? This request, and I'm just going to rename it to who am I? Remember, when you're on this web page, you reload the page, it sends the request to the server, and the server response is saying where you're coming from, like United States. I think this is pretty much to set the language of your web page. Now I copied that request, get request. We can see it's a get request. Go into this link. I just copied as curl and do copy it as a bash, right? Because CMD didn't work. So copy it as bash. Then go to Postman, import it, just paste it here, and it will provide the request for you. Here it is. Now it has all the headers, everything is copied, everything is set as was in curl. There's no body because it's a get request. Now if I'll send it out, look what's going to happen. Send it. And I'm getting back my location, United States. So essentially it sent exactly the same request as the web page is sent in here. I just copied it and it sent it in Postman. Exactly the same thing, and it says I'm from US, right? In scripts, you can add tests, right? Post response, and there's a bunch of snippets available. Here you can see different snippets, so you can start adding tests quickly. For example, we want to verify that the status code is 200. I just clicked on it, and it added the script to make sure the test is running. Now I'm going to rerun it, and you will see that test result is going to appear here. Send it one more time. And here's one test, status code is 200, that's the name, and it's verifying that it is in fact 200. I can call it bananas, right? Doesn't matter. I mean, it does to understand what the test is doing, but I'm just saying whatever you put here will be displayed here, right? The name of the test. And then now within the function itself is the code that you're running. Okay, so status code is 200. All right, so this is it. This is introduction to Postman with installation, was looking through some of the collections. Play around with it a little bit. It's going to take some time. It's not going to come to you immediately, so don't worry if things are hard. You know, it's kind of hard to understand what is going on, but just spend some time with it. Get comfortable with it. You know, it takes a little bit of effort to actually start using it. You have a bunch. I have a bunch of tabs here. I can save this, so I make sure that this updated request is saved, and I am going to close the rest of the tabs. Yep, save changes. If you're willing, you see there's some changes. It's asking if you did some changes to your request. If you want to make sure they're saved, you want to save them. All right. So we got two collections. One came from REST, from our Let's Get Started screen, home screen, and we created one on our own where we copied Who Am I request that Mozilla developer.mozilla.org is sending, the Who Am I that responds with the country where you're from. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. This was Alex Days, and bye-bye.